It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to. Wow, lots to talk about. I gotta look at the crazy GOP cult. That, look. First, Rudy Giuliani evidently got his research from Facebook, or was it Instagram? No, it was Facebook. No, wait, maybe it was Twitter. No, maybe it was Facebook. Oh, it was some social media platform, because that's exactly the place that you want the president's personal attorney to get his information. You want Bubba and Lugnut having direct access to the Oval Office. I'm literally, it's one of those things you go, how crazy can it get? Now look, I understand Rudy's all upset. He got banned from Fox. He's getting sued. He's going broke. Trump's not giving him any help, no cover. There's no funding stream. There's no think tank. There's no shill group out there sending out emails saying, poor Rudy, give him a hand. Nothing. He's on his own. No, on his own. And you really kind of have to wonder, at what point does he realize that he's been played the fool? This was America's mayor. And here he is, part of the holy moly, you got screwed trinity. More like the dim light bulb trio, but still. You got him, you got that Sidney Powell, you got the My Pillow guy, who, I got to tell you, I think none of them were read in that this whole thing with the voter fraud, all this stuff was all just a lie. I don't think they got the memo, and I think on purpose. I think everyone else knew what the game really was. I think everybody else knew what the gig was. It was about a coup. It was about setting aside the election that, at every turn they found was well run. Look, I want to find problems. They weren't there. And what did Rudy take into court? Nothing. So you got Rudy, you got the My Pillow guy who's going to get broke. And you got this Sidney Powell, who evidently is already broke, being sued by Dominion Voting Systems for like $1.3 billion each. I mean, Rudy's going to have to get his tin cup and hit the street corner pretty soon. Sidney Powell, on the other side, she has countersued Dominion Voting Systems because she claims that, how did it go? It was really great. That they are suing her and the other two of the nitwit trio. They're suing them to divert attention. This is all a ploy. It's to divert attention from the failings of their voting equipment, trying to change the narrative, and because look, these three, the three moroniteers, they have, according to her, exposed serious flaws. But here's the thing, they brought nothing into court. This is the part that gets me. When you got Rudy going, must have been Facebook, or was it Instagram? No, maybe it was Twitter. Of where you get your stuff, you kind of go, I don't know. Maybe if you're a respected attorney, you should probably not. Anyway, she's suing Dominion for $10 million. And I'm going, really? Just $10 million? They're hitting you for $1.3 billion. And you're going to go, I want $10 million. Just plain lunacy. And here's the thing, and this is what gets me. It's all fun when you're talking about these three characters. Because really, they're just, they're funny. I mean, there's a level of Keystone Coppery, if you will. The bumbling idiots tripping over each other. Just there's a level of just, ridiculous stupidity And the thing is if it were just these handful, just these couple of kooks, it would be fun. It would be funny. It would be, it would be like, remember David Letterman's Stupid Human Tricks? It would be like not such a great show of stupid human tricks, but at least you could justify it. They're just stupid humans playing stupid games, winning stupid prizes. But this is turning into not just Rudy Giuliani, who was America's mayor, was the head of the Republican Party for a while in New York and was looked up to. But it's the entire Republican Party that has lost their ever-loving freaking minds. And it all comes back to this Trump cult. It all comes back to this fear of this rabid base that the Republicans have. Understand, they've been building this for 40 years. They've been building to this point of white rage and building to this point of angering a working class that they've been screwing with bad policies for decades. They've been building this. I mean, I go back to Pat Buchanan back in '92 when I and a lot of other people joked that his speeches were better in the original German because he was way out on the fringe. And we were saying back then, look, this is who they're courting: the white supremacists, the maniac crowd, the lunatic fringe, the militia types. This is who they want. These are their peeps. And now you've got the entire Republican Party basically by the short hairs of these extremists. And whether you have a political system right now who are just afraid of the base, because I hear people say this all the time, well, when Republican politicians talk in the cloakroom, they say a lot of different things. They're just afraid of being primaried by someone even more extreme, which is not untrue. But I got to tell you, by being silent, by saying nothing, you're just as bad. Now you get this, look what they did to Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, and look what they did to the Gonzalez guy out in Ohio, where he just said, I've had enough of this. I'm out of here. It takes some courage to stand up in the face of a coup attempt. Now, the coup party in full cult mode today, and I happen to spend a little time in front of the TV that I normally don't, but I watched the House hearing with the three generals who, Austin, Milley, and the other guy, McKenzie, I think his name is, if I can remember his name right. And I watched in this moment and I think Liz Cheney put it best when she said, she apologized for the despicable questioning that came from her party, because all they were concerned about was attacking Joe Biden. They like a dog with a bone. No real critical thinking, no real thought process. And here's the thing, and this is where I know we as a society are screwed. You get when the political hacks are going at each other, but we're really not a serious people. You really cannot look at what happened in Afghanistan and go, all Joe Biden's fault, and run away. I mean, we cannot look at any problem that faces this country anymore in any critical thinking way, in any rational, lucid, thoughtful way. And, the thing is, we're kind of living in this bizarre world of, you ever see the movie Idiocracy? We're living that, only less funny. And it wasn't all that funny. You go down the list of the problems that we have, and we can't solve anything. The thing that we can be is pitted against each other. And I say this all the time. The wealth class of this country is thrilled that we're marginally educated but hyper self-confident in our positionings. And we buy into the most bizarre conspiracies that are floating around out there. So I happened to catch the hearing, like I said, and all of these House members, they've got their pre-planned statements that they read poorly because a staffer wrote it for them. And they're just looking for their moment to get, I can get on cable news. Maybe Fox News will call. Oh, boy. If I could just deliver the line. If I could just point the finger. General Milley, you should resign. Maybe Fox will call. Who knows? And that's what it really was. It wasn't about, hey, what did happen there? What was wrong? What lessons should we learn? For me, the lesson was don't get involved in a 20-year war. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two is militaries don't nation build. They blow things up and kill people. My friend Rich Ojeda comes on all the time and says, look, we never lost a battle, but somehow they claim we lost the war. That has everything to do with political leaders grandstanding. We should have been out of there years ago. Bin Laden dead, time to come home. But even in this moment, and it was weird to me because the Democrats were actually trying to find some solutions. And I'm not giving them a pass because some of them were trying to just defend Joe Biden as well. Because look, there were some mistakes made. Clearly, you make a choice, you got to go with it. The generals said we should leave troops there. Biden said no. Did he forget? Did he misspeak? Did he just not want to say? I don't know. But at the end of the day, the decision was made. He's taken responsibility for it. But the Republicans, like a dog with a chew toy, they feel the need to just keep chewing without any critical thought into this, without thinking about what happened during the George W. Bush years. We're going to go back and talk about that? Of course not, because that's their party. We're going to talk about the Obama years? They would be thrilled at that. But that doesn't help their immediate need to attack Joe Biden. They're certainly not going to talk about the last guy who created all of this. And he was never getting people out of there. This was a slapdash, let's throw something together so I can look like I'm bringing people home. I'll tell you, I cannot imagine what an evacuation would have looked like under the former guy. And I'll tell you, I'm glad he lost and Joe Biden was the president because we got out of there in an incredible way. The amount of people that got out in the short period of time that it happened was nothing short of remarkable. And yes, sadly, some people died, but not nearly as many as I would have expected. And look, I'm not a military person, but if you're running out the door while someone's trying to kill you, it's pretty remarkable. Now, we're in this spot where now that the divide comes, should we have left 2,500 troops? I'm of the mindset, no. And as the general said, had we left 2,500 troops, that number was dependent on the Afghan government not failing and the Afghan army actually standing up. Had they collapsed like they did, that number would have been double, would have been 5,000. And I would argue probably even more, because then you would have, ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban all having, a common target. Because we would have broken our word. And this is where I agree with Biden. The choice was not whether we stay or not stay. The choice was whether we get out, bring everybody home, or we escalate. That's the choice. And whether we're there another 20 years. And I agree with his thinking. Get out. Because I don't think in this country we're ready for another 20 years. But yet I listen to those Republicans in the House today who, again, they had their well-rehearsed sound bites. They had their tweet talk ready. They were framing their social media. They were getting it all lined up because, we're going to get on Fox tonight. Oh, boy. But none of them even began to ask questions on, What did we learn? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And the number of declarative statements that they can't prove, and I understand, and this is where understand what happens in these hearings. You can lie as a congressman. You can make things up. You can say anything and not be held accountable. Now, if you're on the other side of the desk, under oath, you have to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help you everything. Or they will come down on you with hellfire and thunderbolts. So you hear all these congressmen and congresswomen going, well, we know Al-Qaeda's crossing the border, the southern border, and they're going to attack us any day now. I just wish they would take some of the energy, some of the fervor, some of the idiocy, tone that down a little bit, and think about how do we move the country forward. But the sad reality is we're not a country that wants to get things done, evidently. We're not a serious country. Hell, we can't even get people to stop throwing temper tantrums over wearing a mask in public. We've got a bunch of children running around. And they start with the people who we are calling our leaders. This is the part that's most frustrating to me. Because these are our representatives. These are the people that we've said, yep, that's the guy I want, the woman I want, that's the person I want to step up and speak up for me. And what I saw today was just disgraceful. And the thing is this is just another day. It was, hey, just Wednesday. This is what happens in Congress every day. And people wonder why people are turned away from politics. When this is where they spend the energy, instead of going, how do we make people's lives better? How do we get that infrastructure bill moving forward? How do we make sure that Granny gets some new chompers or some new glasses? How do we make sure that people's lives get better? I didn't hear any of that today. What I heard was, I'm going to score my cheap point. I'm going to get my viral tweet. I'm going to be able to put something on Instagram that'll make the staffers happy. But really nothing about how we move the country forward. And that's sad because there was an opportunity to have a conversation about what went wrong in Afghanistan and to actually learn a lesson on maybe how do we stay the hell out of situations like that in the future. Just my thought. Love to hear yours. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Gonna take a quick break right back after this. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
There's nothing more American than workers standing up, and the union gives a voice to win. On The Rick Smith Show.